right, so I have a lot of stuff here. I'm going to try and zoom through it because I want to get more feedback than presentation. About 6 years ago, I did a presentation for the American Marketing Association describing how and why we built a content hub, which was like an online magazine called Chief Packaging Officer. And we filled the pipeline in a year with $57 million in pipeline revenue. And at the end of the project, year one, the division was sold. And the negotiation for that division included the acquiring company wanting this magazine that we created that generated all the pipeline revenue. And that made me think that media was leaving the Sumner Redstone negotiating with Disney to sell a media property and was going to be transitioning to companies buying and selling in part based on their media presence. And the value proposition was how many leads would be developed and how integral it was to the sales funnel versus trying to sell advertising, sponsorship, and promotions. And when I did the presentation, I came up with 7 things that we did to make that happen. So a North Star idea, Chief Packaging Officer, all the content we created, then how did we publish and promote that? What did we do out at trade shows? What was the marketing automation behind it, which was HubSpot and Salesforce were integrated together. The sales model was mapping our content to feed the salespeople so that they had content at each step of the sales or customer journey. And we started out, the whole design point was around an ROI model. And I've built a practice on that. It sort of culminated what I'd been doing, integrating marketing and websites, content marketing for years. And then as the market matured, content strategies become really important. And so I have been for the last few years more and more pushing my business to develop content strategy as a methodology to implement for and with our customers. And Jason is a customer of ours and has been through the process. And in addition to the 7 buckets to develop a strategy, I've developed a whole set of worksheets to help teams implement the strategy. So goal setting, team definition, market research, SEO, and then the goals and milestones that you would set with your team, and then the metrics and what do you out of all these 7 buckets, what do you need to measure on a week in, week out basis? So it's strategy plus implementation for go-to-market media. And I've now developed a class because the $50,000 research projects are few and far between, or research and development projects are few and far between. It's been really hard to sell in the middle of a pandemic. How do you get out and reach your customers? But smaller companies have been easier to reach. And so we've started in the last 6 months turning it into a training project where we provide the framework and the customer does the research, and we might do some projects along the way to help them. But it's a way to lower the price and in both cases to get the team to adopt this, because strategy that isn't implemented by a team is just something you sit on a bookshelf. So if you click on the early bird rate, you'd be able to register. We're thinking of our introductory course as being $12.95. And then I've got a coupon codes. We have a special now we're going to offer through the end of December. $1,000 includes 3 one-on-one coaching sessions during that. And then we're going to hold office hours. Oh, I've got to sign up for this. Forget it. And I don't need to show you the course. Some of the things that we've created for the course would be, bear with me 1 second. Share sound, optimize video. So this is one of the elements within the class. an abbreviated version.
Bucket number 1, your North Star idea. This is your why. It's the on-ramp for your audience to get engaged with your content, to draw them into your business, and start to engage with your media so that we can connect them to your salespeople. Enables them to experience everything you want to say, but you can only do it if you can bring them in, and you need something simple. It starts with the entry point.
This is a second video.
So bucket 1 is really the result of great research. You know, if you spend time understanding your competition, looking at what they're doing online, looking at what keywords are driving traffic to their site, and what articles are being written about in the press, all of that information will really inform a great North Star idea.
So the last two things I'll show you are when you take the class, we have not only the 7 buckets to develop the strategy, but how do you assign roles and exercises to help you get everybody to understand the interrelationship they have? Because even as putting up this class, I've got 7 or 8 different people working on this project. And the roadmap is similar to how you climb a mountain. You meet at the base camp and you define the way up, you set milestones and goals, and you know what you're going to measure, because you don't want to get all the way up to the top of Mount Everest and a quarter of the way down and run out of oxygen. And similarly, when you're marketing, you want to have things to make sure that everyone's firing on all cylinders so the entire engine runs. And then you have short-term things like to-do lists. Red and green flags are sort of a systemized way to do problem solving, like we need a new telephone system, we got to get a new website, all the things that you would encounter along the journey. How do you solve problems quickly and effectively and in a way that everybody understands? And then that all happens within your weekly meeting. So this whole idea of implementing a strategy really comes down to good hygiene, along having a weekly meeting agenda. You define your personas and the vision, mission, values that aligns with them. The market landscape, so this is where you put in research, your competition, do SWOT analysis, market landscape where you do pestle analysis. You do goal setting. Those goals are a year in out, and then really drilling down on the goals, and then milestones. And you use SMART methodologies. So, you know, a lot of younger people we find don't even know what SMART goals are. So, you know, we really try and dig in and put the things in place that teams need. Not everybody needs to know all of this, or they already have some of it, but it's a pretty comprehensive way to develop a strategy and implement it with your team. And the last thing I'll say is this comes out of my experience. How do I stop sharing? There we go. This comes out of my experience, both working on the brand side with agencies, and where you pay $500 to get, you know, something simple made. And then on the agency side, where you're trying to get retainers or projects, and the retainers just don't always align with what the customers are trying to do. So I've tried to make Publio a way to really align our services with what our customers want, and in a way that they need. So if we help them with the strategy and then they have a project they want us to take on, we can, but it's because we're tightly aligned with what they're trying to accomplish. So that's my presentation. My questions are, overall discussion, I'm really struggling with product market fit. That's where I wouldn't say struggling, but that's where we're trying to figure out, you know, is this a small company offering? Is the big company $50,000 turnkey done for you projects relevant, or are these training classes more? Is there some sort of hybrid? Just where is the product market fit? Of the 2 videos I showed you, one's kind of car salesman-y and the other's, you know, more like an analyst. And how does that fit into the product market fit? And then lastly, what other resources could you think of that we might offer within we have, more resources for you section, and I'd just love to get your ideas on what might help people. So those are my 3 questions. And how do I do
Michelle
time-wise?
has looks like she's got some feedback.
Yeah, I do a lot of training and I work with a lot of small companies because I can see a lot of what's going on here. First of all, I think you need to make it more, I'm not clear exactly what you're doing. When you use the word strategy, people have an idea of what it is. I don't know how it affects, I don't know how it relates to me. So I don't see any benefits going on over here. You have to tell me what's the end result, what's the benefit of this? I'm going to walk away with what? So that's number 1. Number 2, it needs a sexy name. Right now, it seems very heavy in data and information. You're going to make me work. It needs a compelling name to bring me on board so that I get excited about this. Right now, it seems very tedious. So that's number 2. Number 3, when you're doing this, you need to do what my suggestion is. You need to have an intake. You can do all this strategy, but there's 2 things I think you need to look at before you even a company does it. Number 1, are they ready to expand? Are they ready? Do they have so many problems in-house that they can't even take this on? And do they have the resources? Do they have the team to do this? This is great if you have team members that are ready, willing, and able, and do they have the skill set to make this happen? Because a lot of I mean, I work with design companies. If you did this to a design company, it would fail within 2 seconds because they're interested in design. They're not good in back end structure and research and accountability and spreadsheets and be accountable for it's just not there. You got to see what does this align with the company culture? Are they formal? Do they have structure in place? Do they not have? If they have structure in place, this would be easy. If they have no structure, to go from 0 structure to this level of accountability, I think you're going to get a lot of resistance. I just believe it's got to be somewhere in the middle. You can't take somebody that's never had to be accountable for absolutely, for 10 different things. So I think you need a prerequisite to see what's the avatar, what's the internal structure. Are they ready and positioned to take this on? Do they have the bandwidth? Do they have the staff that can do this? And what's the quality, what do the staff need to be able to do in order to take this on? Because creatives, I don't see creatives really doing this because they would rebel against this. Is it more banking? I mean, what's your ideal target market in terms of what is it manufacturing?
Sure.
Some yes, some no. So I think it
That's
needs
great input. That's
needs
great
a
input.
hell of
I
a
didn't
lot
sell
more.
I didn't sell any of the marketing around this. I was just diving into the guts, but that's all super questions, and I've written every one of them down.
A lot of people pay a lot of attention to the information, and what I'm seeing this offhand, and I don't want to be disrespectful. Right now, this seems like an information dump. It's too much information in too short a period of time. You got to get me excited in order.
Well, I understand. I wasn't trying to sell it. I'm really looking for, I did dive right down, and everything you said was
even to introduce it. It needs a sexy name. Because the sexy name will create the curiosity. Just to say it's strategic something.
I appreciate that.
Strategy is a very common word that a lot of people use, and
Much appreciated.
So that's my thought on that. Is it doable? Yes. Can it be for small companies? Absolutely. If they're positioned accordingly, absolutely. And you can have a 2-tier. You can say this is a version for smaller companies, and this can be a version for the high-end companies. You have 2 tiers.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think it could be either or. You may not get a lot of the 50,000, but you don't need a lot. You need one. And
Right.
Can you get one? Absolutely. If it's sexy enough.
Yeah, Keith, but I have a comment. It seems to me that the message that you're coming across is sort of making the complex simple and structured. But I think you need to get that across a little more. Like, there are, when people think of content strategy, it's confusing, it's unclear, it's broad. And I think what you're doing is you are making sense out of and putting a process together around, all of these things, right? SEO and producing blogs and producing articles and publishing and breaking up your content and using social media. So I think that you're providing a framework and a guideline and a method for people to take this chaos and make some sense out of it and create something that's purposeful and going to be effective.
Yeah, and it is to the point earlier, it is complex, and there are teams that'll never touch it, and then there's leaders who know when they don't have it, and they're on a measured mile. They're either putting their own dollars behind it, or they have to report to a CEO and or a board, and they have no way of explaining the dollars they spent and the results they're getting because they don't have the framework. So my experience has been when I find somebody that needs it, they say yes and they sign up for our services, and we start in 2 weeks. I mean, there's pressure to get it done.
Right. When the CEO or somebody head of marketing says, we need a content strategy, and then everybody looks at each other and says, so well, what's that, right? What do we do here?
Right.
I think that's the type of environment that you want to get into. And you want to explain that as what you have to offer, right? How do you take the words content strategy and make it happen?
You know, I almost envision some content marketing ourselves with what you just said, just, you know, just show that screen in video where the CEO says, I need a content strategy, and the team starts looking at each other. That could be, you know, fun out on LinkedIn.
Right. And by the way, I like you're very videogenic. So both of those were really good. I actually, even though the first one's a little more kitschy and car salesman-y, it does get your attention, right? Yeah. And you know, perhaps I don't know which will play better with. I think the first one will play better with smaller companies, and the other one, a little more buttoned down or buttoned up, you might say, is probably better for the $100 million company, which I think is a great target for you. You know, 50 million to $500 million companies, where they actually have a marketing department, but they're not necessarily, and B2B, they're not necessarily familiar with content strategy and how to make it work.
And they often have employees that have been there for 3, 5, 10 years and have a website that's 7 years old, and it's sort of, well, what do we do now?
Right. Loretta has a question or a comment.
Yeah,
as does Audrey. So we'll just take those two because then we should go on.
Thank you.
Loretta, go ahead.
and I'll be quick, which if you knew me, that's rare. But anyway, it's the one thing I would think about is that, to the point Michael is making, a lot of these larger companies that the larger end he's talking about think they know what content is and you need to kind of take into account that what they're doing, they believe is good content. It's how to address them in a way to make sure that they understand that there is a new way to approach content, not that they don't really understand it. And they probably don't, but it still is doing it in a way that doesn't make them feel like they don't understand, because they think.
Great.
And Audrey, you're on mute.
Hi. So from my legal perspective, plug it and forget it is no longer an option for anybody's business, because the law changes all the time and websites need to be updated according to the law. So I always tell my clients, I offer everybody a quarterly review just because of that, because just what's legally compliant today doesn't mean it's legally compliant in 3 months from now. So as far as content is concerned, think about that, because it still needs to be compliant throughout.
Very interesting. That's a really interesting point about content strategy I'd never considered.
Got to be legally compliant. Absolutely.
Happy to discuss further if you like.
So I'm going to, in the chat, put the order in which people showed up to everyone. So we'll do 2 minutes each, Rajiv, then Henning, then Rochelle, then Loretta. And I will put the timer on. And that should give us enough time. I think we have 12 folks plus Keith. So Rajiv, why don't you start?
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. My name is Rajiv Jadhav. I work for Bsquared Media. We're a reputation management company that helps you either be seen or not be seen. And I'd like to explain briefly what I do. So reputation management is propagating the good. So if you're great at something and you want your customers and prospects to know that about you, we can make it such that when they go to Google or Facebook or their favorite platform and they search for your service, they see you and only you on that platform prominently, typically on page 1 of the search results. So that's what I do on the reputation management side of it. Reputation repair, on the other hand, is basically if businesses, because they're so awesome, they sometimes receive hate from haters, and that results in bad press and bad reviews. And sometimes if left unattended, or usually if left unattended, it can completely torpedo your business and kill it. And that's what we do. So we help clients by deleting all that junk from Google. So we delete bad press and we delete bad reviews from Google. And how we do it, people ask me, is this hacking? No, it's not hacking. The way that we do it is we very politely ask Google to remove those links from the search result for select keywords. And I'm simplifying the process, of course, but we do that on the Google side. And we also approach the publishers, the webmasters of the the webmaster of the publisher, and ask them to do certain things that make that story not be visible in Google. So the combination of that results in the desired outcome, which is the story not being seen in Google. And the way that we work is very simple, very straightforward. We have a performance guarantee such that if the outcome is not realized in our forecasted timeframe, typically 60 to 90 days, the client has the option of asking for a refund or allowing us more time to try a different approach for the same price or a higher price. So that's in a nutshell as to what reputation repair and reputation management is. My ask is to meet with other marketers such that they could either white label us or refer us business for a revenue share. So that's my ask, and I'll put that in the chat. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Mike.
I think Mark Zuckerberg could use your help today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Henning, you are up.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everybody. I call myself the chief evangelist for fractional and interim sales leadership on my LinkedIn profile. I started doing that about 2 years ago when I launched my business Vendox, and found myself not so much selling myself and my services, but rather the concept of bringing in a sales executive on a fractional basis.
We're losing you a little bit.
The idea, the leadership side, and therefore I had to be talked into the model. I found that business owners, CEOs, founders were not ever in the market for a fractional sales leader, but they were always in the market for solving challenges in sales that they had no idea how to address. And so what we do is we matchmake. We have a roster of pre-vetted executives, and we match them into businesses based on relevant criteria, based on making sure that somebody comes in that has done before what this business sets out to do. And my ask is that if you run into any scenario where you encounter a business owner that has a challenge on the sales side, I'd love to have a conversation, because it never starts, as I said, with wanting a fractional sales leader. It always starts with, I have a challenge in sales and I just feel passionate about the topic, and have a conversation. Thank you.
Do you have a particular market that you do more business with than others?
I am more business, definitely with the usual suspects, which is where you find startup and scaling business. So anything SaaS, those are the clusters. But we also have outliers in more traditional businesses like automotive aftermarket, television, and other like industries.
And I think last time I spoke with Henning, which was like last week, he said that a good size company or a good target is one that's got about 6 people in sales. Is that sort of, I guess it's a range.
It's a range. So we work with companies from anywhere from pre-revenue to 6 or 7 salespeople.
Okay,
that's the range, because 6 or 7 salespeople usually require a full-time sales leader. And so anything up to that size is our target audience.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Loretta, you are up. No, I'm sorry, Rochelle.
Good afternoon already. Well, close to good afternoon.
Right.
Okay, Rochelle from Dynamic Business Growth, and I always say it's dynamic business growth and not schlep along business growth. And I find that companies have a very hard time speaking about their business in a compelling way. Very often they do what I call information dump. They give you a size 10 foot of information in a size 6 shoe. And I always say that when you talk about your business, are you storytelling or boring telling? Very often, I mean, I've gone to presentations that I'm telling, I've wanted to give somebody a fine because it was so god awful and it was so torturous to sit through it. So I want to know that when you speak about your business, do you tell a story that highlights your expertise, your high level thinking, the reason that you would demand a higher fee? And if not, let's have a conversation. I love creating stories, dynamic stories for business that does highlight their key skills, and that gets a hell of a lot more money. I've had 4 of my clients recently double their fees, and they're now proud to do it. So if you're not telling an amazing story, you're blending with everybody else. When you do tell an amazing story, people can really connect to who you really are. So if you need any storytelling support, let's have a conversation.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now Loretta, then Brooke, then Jason.
All right.
Loretta,
good to see everybody. It's been a few months. I had a little accident and I've been away, and I'm very happy to try to get back to full life again. I am currently, I truly have been doing nothing for the last, since the 5th of July. And I'm happy to say I've got a couple of proposals out, hoping to get reconnected with some people that I'd been talking to prior to that, both in the pharmaceutical arena, which is where I really would like to be doing some consulting, certainly sort of, on Trusted Referral Network, it says Fractional CMO, which is partially what I do, but more than anything, the 2 proposals I have out are really helping companies in pharmaceutical that are trying to get into pharmaceutical companies and their ad agencies to be able to meet people with the right story. And I've spent many years on the advertising side of pharma. And if you know anybody who is looking for someone to help them, please let me know.
Wonderful. Glad to have you back. I hope you're okay. I hope your
Thanks.
accident, you've recovered from your accident.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Brooke, I think you get the picture of what people are doing. So follow along.
Thanks for having me again. I'm Brooke Sellis. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Bsquared Media, which you can see our lovely step and repeat from our conference that we didn't get to host this year behind me. And essentially we're a social first agency. So we offer 3 main services. The first being organic social media management. That's where the client comes to us. They kind of hand us their Facebook page or Twitter page or LinkedIn page. We assign them with an account manager And essentially, we create all the content for that page, working with an internal person or team. We manage the community for them 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So if any questions, comments, complaints come through, we're kind of triaging that and then again, handling it with the appropriate internal person or team. And obviously doing all the reporting. And then we also do paid media. And there's kind of an asterisk here because yes, we do paid media through social, but we also do it on sites like Google, Amazon Marketplace, other niche sites like that. Same thing, we assign them to account manager. It's kind of a done for you service. So we create the copy, we create the imagery, we do all of the dashboard setup, tracking, all of the reporting and any particular KPIs that the clients have. And then our newest service, which we launched 2 years ago now, and then we beta tested for 2 years. So it feels like we've had it forever, but it's pretty new, is what we call social first customer care. And that's where high volume clients outsource their customer care through social media channels to us. So I'll give you an example. Brother International is a big customer care client of ours. They have, as you probably know, many products under printers, sewing machines, label makers, and there's lots of different products under each one of those lines. They also have a B2B side. So they get a lot of requests, questions, complaints through social, and their internal team can't handle that. I mean, quite honestly, this is how most corporations work. Employees work Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. You're out of luck if you try to get them to work before hours, after hours, weekends, and holidays. So Brother outsources that social first customer care to us. We handle that time for them and essentially, again, work to triage with their internal customer support team. But we handle, most everything that happens online, except for what we call red level, which is like, I need a refund or my product's damaged or whatnot. But honestly, we end up handling about 90% of what happens online for the brand.
Wow.
And that's it.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Did I meet the time?
Well, a little bit over, but that's fine. Actually,
Awesome.
I was remiss in that I didn't start when you started, so I had to guess where you were.
Oh, all right. Well, I feel like I was flying, so.
You did great. Thank you so much.
Great storytelling too.
Thank you.
I love the story. Yeah, the brother story is great. Jason, you're up.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Jason Kramer, founder of Cultivize. So for those of you that were on LinkedIn earlier that may be connected with me, you would know the answer to this question, which is why do 69% of businesses that try to implement a CRM on their own fail? And the answer is because they don't have the experience and trained personnel that'll help create the strategy and execute the implementation to match their business goals on both the sales and marketing side. So what do we do here at Cultivize? For the last 10 years, we've been helping companies both on the B2B and direct-to-consumer side, who typically are spending $30,000 to $50,000 a year or more on inbound marketing, being able to bring in and streamline their sales and marketing process and help them retain more clients and improve repeat business and track the ROI so that their marketing is not just an expense item on the P&L, but it can be a profit center. And so why would they choose us, right? There's so many different CRMs out there and people to work with. And the reason is we are not a software company. So we are more of a consultant and a handholder to do all this work for our clients. We educate and we train our clients continually as they work with us. We also do hands-on work. So it's very little work that has to be done for the client. They don't have to be the smartest person in the room when it comes to their CRM and sales enablement needs. I personally have 20 years of marketing experience, so it allows me to marry that knowledge with my technical skills in a very unique way. And then lastly, we work with a product called SharpSpring, which is most similar to HubSpot, but about $15,000 to $20,000 less. And we're the only one in New York that have our level of certification and one of about 30 in the world. So great fits for us are companies that don't have a CRM that's really working for their business, or they have just a mishmash of technology that's also really not leveraging everything they need to be able to amplify their sales and their marketing. We also work with agencies. So if you guys know any digital agencies where their clients, or some we know we have on the call today, your clients are spending more than $5,000 a month, it'd be a great way for us to be able to have that conversation, because we can actually bring an additional revenue stream to the agencies to help with the lead nurturing aspect. The one thing quickly to note on that, most agencies don't do anything after the lead is generated. Their job is just to generate the lead and hand it off to the client. And often those leads just fall through the cracks and nothing ever happens. So agencies wind up losing clients because the clients aren't happy because the leads aren't bringing in revenue. We can fix that problem. And if I have just maybe 30 seconds left, Michael?
How about 15?
Okay, 15. I'm looking to hire 2 new people. So anybody that you know that has experience with CRM, marketing automation implementation, I would love to speak with them. And then also looking for a new account manager / customer service representative as well. So if you know anybody that's looking that might be interested in one of those roles and has experience, I'd love an introduction. Thank you.
That's great. Glad to hear that you are growing. And you refer to it now as a CRM, no longer marketing automation. Is that a industry change or?
Well, I mean, I think CRM is more clear to the people that don't understand what marketing automation is. The new terminology is revenue growth platform, which I think is even more confusing. It sounds cool, but what does that mean? So, if we had more time, I'd explain that. But I think CRM, people understand what that is at a simple level.
All right, cool. Sarita Jackson, then Ken, then Faith. Sarita, you're up.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I was listening to NPR this morning, and they had an interesting conversation about the current administration's trade policy toward China and this thing about tariffs, and whether or not it is different from the previous administration. And one of the questions to the U.S. Trade Representative, Catherine Tai, was, well, isn't it practically the same where we have these tariffs against China and it has an impact on local importer or domestic importers? And Tai gave her answer. I don't need to go into all of that. But the key point of mentioning this about the NPR interview and what is being discussed when it comes to our trade policy is that trade policies do have an impact on businesses and their ability to compete in the global market. So I'm Sarita Jackson with the Global Research Institute of International Trade, and I help companies, U.S. companies exporting to other markets, as well as companies located overseas trying to export to the U.S. market, on understanding these trade policies, leveraging these policies and what it means for them in terms of saving when they are importing, not having these tariffs placed on their products when they're accessing other markets. In other words, increased access to other markets, making their product more competitive in those markets, and also understanding the regulations that are put forth within these trade policies to help companies to mitigate risk. So the types of companies that I work with, many of my clients are in the food, manufacturing, or the broader agricultural space. So if you know of any companies that are food manufacturing companies or agricultural companies, and they are trying to understand these policies, especially from a regulatory perspective, that would be a good client for GRIT. Companies that have been in business at least 3 years, preferably 5, but even 3 years, and have $1 million in annual revenue or up. That would be a great fit, and I would be here to help them. Again, I'm Sarita Jackson with the Global Research Institute of International Trade.
Okay, it looks like we're getting a little glitchy in terms of the bandwidth from California. I think you and Henning both had some bandwidth issues. Don't know if it's because of California, but anyway, it's great to have you, and thank you for joining us early in the morning. And if those of you who missed last week, Sarita presented last week, and her video is up on the YouTube channel. Ken Simon, you're up.
Good morning. I'm Ken Simon, KBS Marketing. I work with small and mid-sized companies, helping them understand who their customers are, what their needs are, and then develop strategies for them to use to go after those customers. That could be anywhere from developing campaigns, pay-per-click campaigns, display advertising campaigns, email campaigns, to helping them do market research in different markets to help them understand what products and services to offer, what the pain points of those customers are. That way they could use content management and content strategy to talk about those pain points and how to mitigate them. I work with small and mid-sized companies, I said, startups, minimum of $1 million in sales. And I've been working with companies in the fintech area, technology, and service area. That's what I've been doing. I've been a little out of the pocket for the last couple of weeks, but I've been here and very busy. So anyway, I know I'm also getting involved something new in the space industry. So I've been working with a couple of companies involved with launching rockets, which is something totally out of the norm for me. But I always wanted to be a rocket man. Anyway, Ken Simon, KBS Marketing, helping companies grow.
Thank
You
you so
and
much.
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk, the Rocket Man. All right. Faith Thomases, you're up. Faith, are you still here?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're on. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Faith Thomases. I've met about half of you, and I am a business communicator, which means that I help companies and people and firms articulate what they want to say. So that results in copywriting, name development, positioning statements, messaging, anything that's verbal. My strength is really taking ideas and saying them succinctly and efficiently. So I'm very good at website writing because you have to say what you have to say in 2 seconds or the customer's going to click. I have a large portfolio in name development. I also work with firms and any kind of positioning planning that they need or strategy planning or trying to identify a problem. I've been on my own for 30 years. I work, as I said, alone, but also in conjunction with other agencies as a subcontractor, those particularly design firms that might not need my skills on a full-time basis. And I'm very flexible. I have experience in a wide range of industries. And my target is really anyone that needs some help articulating what they want to say. I mean, I've worked with startups and solopreneurs. I've done work for Mercedes-Benz, editing some documents that had to go to the government. So I'm very jack of all trades. So I'll put my website up on the chat and look forward to hearing from people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Victor Lee, you're up.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Michael. So what I do, and I think I've had conversations with lots of folks here, is what I do is I help people make money from their connections. And the way I do it is I find interesting business situations and I try to find clients for them. And so I'll reach out to my network and say, hey, I have these interesting situations. If you know of somebody, then, we'll put our connections together and then we'll all get paid for it. And I know a number of folks on this call, I know Rajiv likes that part. I know a number of people on this call have been involved in some of my projects. And in fact, Larry Rosenthal, who's not on the call, I responded, he sent me a lead and I responded to it earlier this morning. So I've been working with Rajiv on trying to find people in reputation repair, because I think it's kind of an interesting, unusual sort of service. So we've been reaching out to various, lawyers that I know and other people. And I was actually on a networking call a couple of weeks ago, and somebody during this little, these little introductory segments said, hey, does anybody know how to get stuff off of Google? So I raised my hand and, Rajiv and I are making that pitch. For today, my ask is whether anybody knows of any group Zoom events coming up, whether they could be holiday events, corporate events, celebrations, anything like that. Because my thought for this year is that last year companies had all those, their holiday events on Zoom, and they were awful. And what we're all contemplating is that the companies will have Zoom events again this year, and they're going to be awful. So through Rajiv, I've met a company that can make these things entertaining, fun, and actually sort of bearable. And what he does is he creates trivia events that he hosts in the Zoom event. It's kind of like, like Jeopardy. The guy's very engaging, very clever. he has some of the questions asked by cartoons. And one of the questioners, one of the hosts / moderators is actually a woman who's the original voice of Siri. And for Audrey, I'm sure, don't tell Apple, because I'm sure if they find out, they're not going to be very happy. But in any case, what we're looking for is, as the holidays are coming up, anybody who knows of companies, groups, foundations. I see Rochelle has her hand up already. Terrific. Anybody who's running a group event and they need to make it actually interesting.
Are
Yes,
you doing
ma'am.
anything with nonprofits?
Anybody with a budget would be perfect. Should we connect afterwards?
Yeah, I haven't,
Right.
possibly.
Perfect. That's great, Rochelle. Thank you very much. So that's the thing. Just looking for more Zoom events, ones that are not quite as entertaining as the one that Michael holds.
It's only because of you, Victor, and folks like you. All right, Audrey Glover-Dichter, you're up.
How do I follow up with that one? Okay, so make your marketing work for you, not against you. And as I mentioned before, I am the advertising, marketing, and promotions law attorney of the group. And I work with all of you to make sure that not just you are compliant, but also all of your clients are compliant as well with advertising, marketing, and promotions law. What does that mean? That means that there is this whole field of law that's enforced by the Federal Trade Commission that applies to everybody and anybody who does advertising in this country. Doesn't matter what language, doesn't matter what location, doesn't matter how big, how small, and it doesn't matter what product or what service. You do advertising, especially online, which most of us do, then the FTC is looking to see what you're doing. So I come in and I work with mostly small, medium businesses and startups. I can't afford the big firms. So, and I find that unfortunately they don't know what they don't know. So I work with the creatives, because you guys know that there's a field of law called advertising law. And basically, I review as you create, I review. And if that's not possible, then it's always possible to go back and clean up and fix. And like I mentioned before, the days of plug it and forget it are no longer existent in this field of law. I review also for intellectual property issues, like do you need licensing, are you infringing? And for websites, I draft all the legal documentation, such as the privacy policy, the terms and conditions, disclaimers, disclosures, and of course your cookie policies. And of course, I review for ADA online compliance. I don't do ADA law, but I do help you to know whether or not you need that tech help to get you compliant. Am I out of time? Or do I still have time?
Yes, that's it. But
Oh.
that was
Audrey
great.
Glover-Dichter. I put my information on the chat. Feel free to reach out. And again, this applies to everybody and anybody. And I do this in English and Spanish. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. And Audrey is a regular. And I will go. So my name is Michael Bendit, as you all know, and my company is Software Development Resources. And I am an independent rep for about 10 different software development teams, and about half of our work is in the marketing world. The other half, or 45%, being with startups, and maybe the final 5% is with larger companies, usually through an agency. So people come to me because they don't know where to find the right resource. I just got a call recently from a former client whom I worked with, who has a startup in the artificial intelligence space, and he's looking for some front-end developers. So for those of you who are not technically inclined, front-end means the stuff that's on your browser itself. And he wants a team down in South America because he wants a team that is time zone aligned, but he also wants to save money. And so he asked me if I had a team that could meet those criteria. And I actually do have a team that is, they're in Uruguay, time zone aligned, have great front end experience. They come from the design world. And I told him they're probably going to be about, 65 to 80 bucks an hour. And he said, whoa, can't handle that. That's too, last people we used were 27 bucks in India, but India was hard to deal with. So I'm looking for a team in South America that's less expensive than what you just quoted. So I happen to have worked with another team that was since bought out, and I reached out to the former owner, and he's connecting me with one of the guys who branched out from that group, and they're a really talented group, and hopefully I can get him what he needs for more like $40 an hour. You can't get good resources in South America for less than 35. So those are the types of problems I solve, helping people find the right resources for development projects, be they websites or e-commerce sites or mobile applications. Because I have this breadth of resources behind me, I could find the right fit based on skill set, onshore, offshore, price point, etc. So we're down to 2 minutes left. I actually have a call at the top of the hour. I am currently thinking about adding to the Trusted Referral website, trustref.net, a calendar of not just my events, but other events, other marketing events as well. And would love feedback on what type of events you would want to track that might be of interest to you. Perhaps things like events that the American Marketing Association is putting on, or some of these other associations. I tried going to Eventbrite, but there's just too much garbage there, so you can't really figure out what's good, what's not. But if people have a good source of events that they would like me to track on their behalf, or if they can recommend some good events, ultimately,
Michael?
Yes.
So are you referring to just marketing events or networking events in general?
Targeted at people who are in the group. So people who should be marketing oriented, where you can meet other marketing people as well as people who are, on the buy side as well, of course.
So like you obviously know Andre, right? So
Andre, sure.
Yeah, right, from Gannett. So
Andre
I think right. So he told me about this event, I think it's like a trade event that is focused on, I think, like PPC and DSPs and DMPs and all that kind of stuff that happens on a kind of like an ongoing basis. I don't know whether it's monthly or like half yearly or whatever, but would that be something that's closer to what you're referring to?
Yeah. I'll probably put together a trial list and send it around or make it available and say, is this type of events that people are interested in keeping track of to see if they want to attend. And right now it'll probably be mostly, virtual events.
Right. Okay.
At some point they'll be offline as well. I got to run. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks,
have a
everyone.
great day, and thank you for joining.
Thanks, Michael.
See you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.